Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy. For today's video, we got a video by a channel called Rebound Central titled The Most Embarrassing Records of NBA Players. Just like stuff there's like, yo, you don't try to do that. But, you know, based off the course of a game or multiple games, all of a sudden you find yourself, you know, the most missed threes in NBA history or something like that. Let's check it out.
Superstars accomplishing incredible things each year. Some players have embarrassing records they like to forget. From one player only playing in 3 seconds of an NBA game their entire career, to another player missing 17 shots in a game without
damn,
making
bro.
a single one. This
James
is just
Harden, damn, man.
No one likes to talk about. With James on Curry being a pretty unfamiliar name, the record he attained during his playing days is exactly why.
Yo,
James on Curry seemed like he had a lot going on for him early in his career. After
well,
3
yeah, his
seasons
name.
of college ball,
He's got James and Curry in his name, bro. Like, that right there should get you a damn NBA Finals appearance or something.
James on declared for the 2007 NBA draft. 51 picks later, he landed the spot with the Chicago Bulls. Would
good for
probably
him.
send him down to the D-League. Despite playing well in the D-League, the Bulls will waive him with no hard feelings, and they cut him a $100,000 check for the mistake. With his future in the NBA looking dim, James on looked on to international ball for some luck. And after a short search for employment, it seemed like the NBA was interested in him again. More specifically, the LA Clippers, offering him a 10-day contract during the 2010 season. Finally,
all right.
James on would have the chance to prove himself on the court as the
yo, ugly ass jumper
that he once was. Well, that may have happened if he'd gotten any playing time, but instead, he was subbed in during the game's final 3.9 seconds where he guarded Rajon Rondo.
Yo, bet you clamped.
Seconds, James on never touched the ball once, and he has no.
But look at them clamps, man.
Of the 9 players
he's got them all locked down.
Game in the league, no one comes close to James on's 3.9 seconds. 4 days later, he was released from his contract, never to touch an NBA court again. Following that game's conclusion, James on said, "It's the quickest 4 seconds ever. I wish it would have lasted longer. Being out there, I just felt like a regular person.
My man still got 100K though. You don't play some hoops, so he's all
like
good.
A regular basketball player. Felt like I was home. Like this is where I belong." Having no shame in his short stint with the NBA, James on cracked this joke about his time in the NBA, saying, "You know, if you think about it, I'm probably the highest paid player per second in NBA history." Now, there's definitely no doubt that Ben Wallace was a one-of-a-kind player. He was unbelievable while he was with the Detroit Pistons. And during his prime years, he was awarded Defensive Player of the Year. For 4 seasons, he dominated the league on that end of the floor. But this is exactly why a certain record that he holds comes into play. He was one of the league's favored rebounders and shot blockers. What he wasn't good at was scoring. From the field, he was historically insignificant on offense and averaged just 5 points per game. But more specifically, his free throw shooting was ridiculous. Ben Wallace shot only 42% from the line throughout his career.
Bro, when I played some basketball, Ben Wallace at the Palace, what was that, like 2 years ago now, the man was raining threes. Like, he could have been a stretch big. It's just he knew his focus was on the inside. He had them big-ass biceps, too, so it's like, it's hard to shoot with big muscles like that. I personally would not know, but I would have to imagine. So, yeah, Ben Wallace in today's game would have been a stretch big, bro. Like, he would have been the ideal 3-and-D. I mean, this man was raining threes like 10 in a row from the top. So, I mean, he can do it. It just wasn't his strength, you know? He was kind of finessing out there. He was just kind of finessing, because he knew that, if he would have, you know, started raining threes and stuff like that back when he played for the Pistons, then players would have played him closely and stuff. But now that he's farther away, you know, he can get kind of more leaping ability out of his legs and athleticism and go for the ball and get more offensive rebounds and stuff. It was all just part of his plan. But no, he could have been an offensive guy if he wanted to. He just chose not to. Because, you know, he had like Rasheed Wallace out there and stuff, you know. Just, I don't know. I'm sure Larry Brown kind of held him back too.
And it unfortunately became too common that he'd airball free throws, not hitting anything. At times when he'd make multiple in a row, it was unbelievable because of how bad of a shooter he typically was.
Bro, free throws can be tough.
To say that this record is unbreakable, considering how many terrible free throw shooters the league has seen, but nobody was as inefficient as him. To the man's credit, he blocked more shots than he's made free throws. So an argument could be made that his ability to block
get the shit out of there, man. I remember that shot.
Then games that he lost.
Get the shit out of there, Drew.
Sink it from the line.
Get the shit out of there, man.
Won his team games, and he stuck by that proudly. With Karl Malone being known as one of the most legendary power forwards in history, and also one of the league's best to never secure a championship, his physical, gritty, and emotional play led him to securing a record that doesn't look like it'll be touched anytime soon.
Is it talking to the youngest girl? Okay, I'm not going to say that. Okay, I'm sorry, but Karl Malone, I just heard stories. I've heard stories. That's all I'm going to say about Karl Malone, the mailman.
Being nicknamed the mailman, Karl dominated during his time in the league, not backing down from anybody. Playing through a 20-year career in the NBA, that allowed him to rack up 332 technical fouls on players, having played through the 1980s and
more
the
than
1990s.
Rasheed?
From trash talking to hard fouls, Malone got into it with many around the league. Some notable victims of Malone's patented elbows were Dennis Rodman, Michael Jordan, Steve Nash, and David Robinson.
Holy shit, bro. Knocked out Nash.
It didn't seem to help his case in almost any situation. One of his most notable fouls took place during the 1991-1992 season against the Detroit Pistons, where Malone elbowed Isaiah Thomas on the forehead so hard.
Bro, back the fuck off, Karl. Get your ass back, man. God damn. This is not wrestling, man. My God. Like, the Pistons were such a nice team. It's like they didn't do nothing to nobody. You want to come out there and start throwing
He
elbows.
needed 40 stitches
Oh
and
my-
missed the following 2 games for his injuries. At a height of 6'9" and weighing over 200.
Well, yeah, I guess if you can't win rings, I guess, you got to take out the best players in the NBA. Right? I guess that maybe that was his next strategy. Couldn't freaking actually get it done winning championships and stuff, so he had to start taking out players.
50 pounds with arms the size of most
bullshit.
people's thighs. That's one elbow you don't want to be taken to the head. The foul was so bad it nearly started a fight between teams.
Oh,
And
it
then
should've.
Pistons coach Chuck Daly got into it with the
Lucky I
referee.
wasn't at
Malone
that
was
game,
surprisingly
or
only
born.
fined $10,000 and suspended for a game for this elbow. But obviously it was a different type of league during this era. And while Carl maintains the foul was unintentional, Isaiah Thomas never forgave the mailman, stating, "That was the cheapest shot in my mind in the history of the game."
Yep.
They also call Malone the weakest
Really was.
link on the Jazz's NBA Finals team of 97 and 98. On an episode of NBA TV.
Oh, shit, I was alive.
Malone responded stating, "Is it relevant for me to discuss what he said about me? I'm just gonna say he. I'm not even gonna say his first name because he's irrelevant to me. By me calling his name, I'll give him a little justification and existence. So I'm not even."
Bro, imagine thinking you more relevant than Isaiah Thomas. like imagine, like, I would understand if it was like, insert bench player number 12. But trust me, Isaiah does not need your word of mouth, Carl.
Even discussing that fella. He's not even relevant to me. I'll let my play speak for itself. I'm not even gonna
Yeah, we
stoop
let
to
our
his
ring
level.
speak for
Hopefully
ourselves.
He's enjoying his retirement life or lack thereof. Who knows? Happy Thanksgiving to the fella. With Charles Barkley being known as one of the best players in the history of the NBA who never won a ring as well, his historically bad 3-point shooting he showcased throughout his career literally put him in a
Shot
league
like
of his own.
12%.
Framed as the Shaquille O'Neal of 3-point shooting, Charles Barkley leads the league in the worst 3-point percentage in history, sitting on top of a record 26.6%.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad.
Shooting from beyond the arc, but he didn't. Now, some players obviously shoot 0% or low percentage in general from 3 due to them only taking a few shots, but that makes him ineligible for a
Bro,
record
you like
this.
Draymond
Charles
Green.
Barkley, on the other hand, has the most attempts for those in his bracket, shooting under 30% at 2,023-point attempts. Barkley only made 500.
Bro, about 400 attempts in, it was time to give it up. It was time to give it up about 400 attempts in and just kind of realize the 3-point shot wasn't for you. You played in an era where, power forwards did not need to shoot threes. I know you was undersized and everything, but yeah, just like Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace could have shot threes, but he played to his strengths.
And 38 of them. And to put that into perspective, Steph Curry's record for threes made in a season is a little under 100 shy of Barkley's entire 16-season career.
Damn,
What's most
man.
astonishing is that he managed to miss so many threes, yet maintained such respect as a scorer in the league, with a career average of 22 points per game and a field goal percentage at a deadly 54%. The missed threes in the mix was just the price of business if you wanted an aggressive and dominant Barkley on your team. This will likely be another one of those unbreakable records, as generally,
How are you
if you're
that bad
shooting
at
100% from
shooting?
deep, you're probably not playing that many minutes to begin with. His inability to score from deep has been joked about so much that TNT even had a segment where Barkley went up against Shaq in a 3-point contest and still lost.
Damn,
Following that
man.
performance, he was challenged by commentator Ernie Johnson, who never played an NBA game in his life, and lost to him as well by a
Bro,
margin of
how you that
57.
bad,
Barkley
Chuck?
now as a Hall of Famer will go down in history as one of the greatest of all time. while also
chucking
holding the
shit
title of
up.
the worst
Like,
3-point
oh, you
shooter
Chuck.
ever. With Tim Hardaway Sr. having a solid NBA career, as well as having a son who still plays in the NBA, many forgot the game he had. That's arguably the worst performance of all time. During a night that'll forever remain in history, at least within the mind of Tim Hardaway Sr., marks the night of December 27th, 1991, where he managed to shoot 17 shots and miss all of them. It was
Whoa.
odd for the 3-year NBA veteran to go even a single game without scoring
Time to make some layups or something, man. I bet you it was all jump shots.
at least 10 plus points. Yet during this matchup, he couldn't get a single attempt to fall in. Ironic to think that in that season, he averaged the most points that he ever did in a year, 23 points per game. But even though 0-17 is embarrassing, it's an unforgettable game to say the least. Remarkably, the Warriors were still able to win against the Wolves. But now without
Yo,
Blake
you're
shooting
chewing
from
shit
the
like that?
point guard,
Oh, he
Chris
made
was
that.
about
He
it
made
after the
that.
game, and he was quoted to have said, "I'm gonna frame this box score. I had to get an NBA record somehow. I was never 0 for anything at any level. What can I say?" Well,
There you
Kemba Walker
go.
making a name for himself in the NBA while playing with Charlotte, despite being an incredible scorer, averaging over 20 points per game for years, many had overlooked his potential. Now with him recently leaving for the Boston Celtics, you could argue that a very specific embarrassing record of his is what led to that. A constant criticism of Kemba's career has been his inability to win games. And ironically enough, he was never
Well, that's
able
changed
to beat
now.
LeBron in a head-to-head matchup in nearly 9
changed
years.
now.
Kemba was drafted in the 2011 season, and since then, he's went 0-28 against any team LeBron was playing for. This was an incredible record, but obviously with LeBron putting his own team on his back every night, it's hard for anybody to beat James unless you have multiple stars in your team, which Kemba never really had outside of himself. But
Damn
recently,
Cody
after
Zeller.
joining the Celtics, he finally got the supporting cast that he needed to take down the King. And on January 20th, 2020, the Celtics squared off against the Lakers, and with the help of Kemba's 20 points, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds,
him.
it was enough to blow the Lakers out,
You got him.
139-107. After the win, Kemba spoke with reporters and said, "It's only one. 1-28. I'm 1-0 with a new team." And he tried to justify his record against LeBron when he said, "What can I say? The guy's the best player in my league.
Time to
My
win 27
generation.
straight
He's
now,
been the
right,
greatest
Kemba?
player over the last, 15 years? So yeah, it is what it is. With many embarrassing records coming from individual players, this one happens to be embarrassing for both teams involved. On November 22nd in 1950, the Fort Wayne Pistons were taking on the Minnesota Lakers in a game that ended with a final score of 37 points. Most teams in today's league score that nearly every quarter, so for an entire game of two teams to put up those numbers doesn't even make sense, but it happened.
How much y'all think I would have dropped on that team?
The Pistons, they walked away.
Bro, I would have dropped 37 points in the first half, man.
The 19-18 win. This moment shocked the league, considering the Pistons never scored less than 64 points again that season, and the Lakers never dropped below 63. So for each team to not even drop 20 points, makes you question what was really going on during their performance.
Everybody was on drugs.
George Mikan himself scored 15 of the 18 points for them, and only 2 other players scored for the Lakers, while no one scored more than 5 for the Pistons. After the loss, Lakers coach at the time spoke to his players and said, "Playing like that will kill professional basketball. No one in history has ever come close to this low of a scoring again. No game in history ever had a combined score less than
damn construction workers out there, man.
NBA, no team averages less than 100 points per game.
Jackhammer.
That's nearly or around 200 plus points scored
Hammer.
per game these days.
Chainsaw, I don't know.
The pace has changed over the
construction
last
people
7
use.
decades. It makes you wonder if teams back in the 50s predicted that what they were doing as a team would be done by one player in a game. Obviously, we all know about Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point performance, Kobe Bryant's 81 points, with players like James Harden nowadays averaging nearly 37 points per game, which is exactly what the lowest scoring game in history between two full teams scored. So it shows how far the
What
league
the
has come
fuck
since.
was that free throw? What is he doing? Bro, you lucky to get damn 2 points. Look at that. Did you all see that?
Exactly
Look
what
at
the
this.
lowest scoring game in history between two full teams scored. So it shows how
What
far
the
the league
fuck
has come since. Now, last but not least, James has unreal records that you won't believe. Despite the constant
Oh my
criticism for
God,
Harden's way of
man.
playing, you can't deny that his one-of-a-kind ability is cementing him among the greats. He's doing things we haven't seen in decades.
Friggin'
But with that being
hokey
said,
pokey
despite
shit,
being one of
man.
the greatest scorers we've seen, he's also set records he's not too proud of in the process. Obviously, the ball is always in James' hands on the majority of the possessions, as he's set to lead the Rockets each night. But during the 2015-2016 season, James Harden demolished an NBA record for most turnovers in a season. Ranking it now #1 ever, Harden managed to turn the ball over 374
He had the ball so much, though,
times.
so
Prior to
much.
him, in the
Usage rate.
1977-78 season, Artis Gilmore had once turned the ball over 366 times in a season, but Harden's 374 turnovers averaged out to be about 4.6 per game. However, during that 2015 season, James was averaging a career high in points at 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists per game. His turnover issue proved to be negatively affecting.
Yeah,
his
you
team in
bound
the
to turn it
playoffs
over,
that
the
year
ball in your
against
hand a
Golden
lot.
State. During the 2015 season, where in Game 5 facing elimination, Harden turned the ball over a whopping 13 times, effectively allowing Golden State to sweep up the scraps, eliminating Harden's chance at a championship that year. And that 13th turnover also gave him another NBA record for most turnovers in a game.
13's the only,
James
that's
Harden
it?
hasn't taken a step back towards securing the all-time record for most turnovers ever.
I do
During
that
the
in pickup
Rockets-Timberwolves
games.
game that took place on January 11th, 2020, Harden turned the ball over 11 times. They still managed to win over the Wolves. But James now has the most 11-plus turnover games in history. As far as shooting goes, James has always excelled from all areas of the floor. But in early January of 2020, James Harden, who was in the middle of a historic season scoring the ball, had a record-setting performance that many overlook. Against the Magic in Orlando, Harden still got his 38 points, like a season average at the time, but he didn't do it while shooting
season
well from beyond
average.
the arc like usual. The Rockets took an embarrassing loss to the Magic, 116-109, and the most ridiculous thing that night were the 2 records that Harden broke. Throughout the game, Harden led the league in three-point attempts, shot it 17 times from beyond the three-point line, and only knocked down 1 of them, which tied Damon Stoudemire
He's
for the
so
most
boring
missed
to
threes
watch,
in a
man.
single
James
game at
Harden
16.
is-
And a 1-17 three-point shooting performance
ISOs
can't get
all
much
day.
worse. But it did. Harden also broke a record, which happened to be for the worst three-point percentage in a single game, which was 5.9%. Harden was able to maintain his 30-plus points per game, as he made 15 of his 16
Damn, Floyd
three-point
quadruple
shots.
in that
He
shit,
went
bro.
11 of 32 in total from the
Damn,
field.
man.
Hey, yo, dog.
Oh, okay. Well, that is the end of the video. Yeah. Some not great records happening.